has been also participating, and he has opened his heart and his home here to host this program here. So like very grateful to Ron Pitambar. So let's give you a big hand. So next we'll have three panelists here. Mr. Ishan Katir from HF, and we'll give the detailed introduction by Gayatri Khanda. Ishan Katir, Upendra Kulkarni from Intel, and we have Ron Pitambar, who will be the panelist, and the keynote speaker by Chaitanya Charan, and I'll invite Gayatri Khanda to begin the ceremony.
I really want to welcome you all to this wonderful evening, and we're really looking forward. We invite all the panelists to please come and sit here. I would like to invite Mr. Isan Katir to please come here. I hope I pronounced your name correct.
Yes, that's right.
I did. Please. Mr. Isan Katir is a fiduciary registered investment advisor and a member of Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, and has a 32-year history across diverse sectors and market conditionings in managing big wealth for families, individuals, and retirement plans. He is also the California Interfaith Coordinator in the HAF and served in the Hindu Heritage Endowment. Katir has served as a finance commissioner for the city of Davis, California, and as the financial secretary for the Native Sons of the Golden West Sacramento Parlor. He is currently a trustee of the Ray Hagen Opportunities Fund and chairs the Business Development Committee of the International House Davis Board of Directors. He helps in fundraiser for relief activities after hurricanes and Andrew and the San Marga Sanctuary. So we really welcome Mr. Katir. Please.
Sure, yes. Well, thank you very much, Swami. Wonderful to be in your presence and to be here with this august group. And I attended the Saratoga Artha Forum. I guess I must have said good things because here I am at this one. We look forward to talking all about spirituality and leadership. I've got a few thoughts on that and some experience from my years in business. I'm sure I'm not telling this group anything new, but maybe together we'll be able to do something good and put things into practice that we just learned about and thought about. Now, is this my 15 minutes, or is this just saying a few words?
Go ahead. If you'd like to come up to the podium.
Oh, really?
So everybody
Okay.
can see you and we can hear you.
Okay, so this is my thing.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Didn't know if I was just supposed to say hello or what. Yeah, this is better. Spirituality and leadership, I think everyone understands that we want to be generous, and tithe is a good practice that we've been doing for many, many years as a way to build a spiritual organization. And we know those principles of treating others as we wish to be treated. You know, every day in the conscious mind out there in the world, there's this battle. Do we treat this person the way we wish to be treated, or do we treat them the way they're treating us? Right? But we want to adhere to the high road. But since we all know that already, what I'd like to talk about tonight is spiritual leadership that's needed in the Sanatana Dharma community, as my friend recently told me. You all know better than I that the word Hindu is an outsider's term. There were two guys standing across the Indus River, and one of them said, "Who are those guys across the river?" And the other one didn't want to appear stupid, so he said, well, those are the Indus, across the Indus. So everyone on the other side of the river became known as Indus. And it's kind of a misnomer. But Sanatana Dharma is the path that all souls are on, consciously or unconsciously. And I think we could all agree on that tonight. But what's needed in America, for those who practice the Sanatana Dharma, is spiritual leadership in a very dynamic way. And what I mean by that is all the Indian communities that I speak with and the hundreds and hundreds of kids, Indian kids I've taught, the Sri Venkateshwara Temple in Pittsburgh flew me back for 10 years each summer to teach 100 of their teenagers about the Sanatana Dharma at their youth camp. So I've heard every possible question, I think, from youth. And they all, to a T, want to be doctors and engineers, of course. And at the end of one of my weeks teaching them, I had them write an essay. What do you see yourself doing in 20 years? And almost all of them, they were going to be neurosurgeons or chemical engineers. They could describe the size of their house and how many garages it would have and what cars were in the garage, which model Mercedes. But very few had the idea to be a spiritual leader. And that's what's, I think, missing in our culture here. When the British came to India and set up all the school system, Lord Macaulay, of course, provided schools for engineers and lawyers and bureaucrats, but he left out one important thing. He left out the ministry. He didn't create, for obvious reasons, Hindu ministry. They wanted to, of course, do away with the religion of India, which they completely failed to do, but that was their intent. Whereas in Europe and in America, there are, of course, divinity schools. Yale and Harvard started as divinity schools, where people consciously choose a career to be a minister or a chaplain to help the community. And I think we should leave that option open to our children. And last time I said that in Saratoga, I saw some of the amas think, no, doctor, should be a doctor. Which is good. Maybe you have a couple of sons. One will be a doctor, one will be an engineer, but maybe one will be a minister who can help the rest of the community. What does a minister do? A minister helps with family counseling, with psychological problems. We need people who will give Hindu, Sanatana Dharmic solutions to mental and emotional problems. Now you have a mental emotional problem, you go and you get a Zoloft, you get drugs, right? But they should say, well, no, you go to the temple and you leave all your problems at God's feet and see what miracles occur. We need ministers to say that to the Hindu community. So my message tonight for spiritual leadership is not just in business, maybe we do something nice once in a while, but there actually should be careers of Hindu ministers. Should be a minister attached to every temple and every group. The minister could help with the personal problems, marriage counseling, youth counseling, start a school. Each temple should have a school, I think, and a minister could be part of that. There are examples of some temples in America that have schools, and of course the Hare Krishnas have done much in that regard too. There should be libraries, and there should be ways for the youth to get involved, and a minister can do that. Priest can't really do that. Priest is down from India, maybe doesn't speak English very well, and his duty is to invoke the gods in the temple. His duty is not to be a minister. It's a kind of seems like a Western concept, but it's very needed in the American system, I think. And that's my message for tonight on spiritual leadership.
continue the evening, I would like to invite Mr. Upendra Kulkarni to please come here on the panel. Just to give you a brief introduction to Mr. Upendra Kulkarni, he's the Vice President of the Platform Engineering Group and the Director for Graphics Software Development and Validation at Intel Corporation. He is responsible for the worldwide team that develops high-performance, power-optimized 3D media display drivers for Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and Android operating systems. He also holds 6 US patents of microprocessor technologies in the areas of microcode, execution, and cache coefficient protocols. Please, would you like to enlighten us by coming on the podium?
Thank you, Artha Foundation, for the opportunity. This is my first time ever here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk. When I first got contacted by Radha Venkatraman, who was here in the audience, who wrote me into doing this, I didn't know what I was getting into. Because if you look at me, I'm probably like 99% business and less than 1% spiritual. And how I'm going to talk about this topic of leadership and spirituality. But risk taking is part of my being a business leader, right? So I took the risk. I said, I'll sign up for this. And that forced me to go to some homework and prepare for this topic. And also potentially for like a Q&A that will follow later. But I went back and looked at what network can I draw from to help me learn more about the spiritual aspects of what we do, right? And it didn't take me very long because in my family, there's a lot of spirituality in my father was a very spiritual person. He followed Ramana Maharshi throughout his life. My grandparent was a very spiritual person. My wife, who wanted to join today, but she couldn't be here because of other calendars, but she's a great spiritual person, reader of J. Krishnamurti, Swami Vivekananda, Dr. Deepak Chopra, and Dr. Wayne Dyer, and a lot of readings that she does. And also we have at evenings, if you ask me what I do, other than work on my computer, there is some audio running in the background with J. Krishnamurti's teaching and so forth. So even though I'm not listening, it falls on my ears, and probably that's what's becoming useful for today. So I want to first talk about what is a leader and what does it take to be a good leader, and also talk about what is a spiritual person and what kind of qualities they exhibit or what do they have in them, and what are the intersections of these two that work well, and what are the intersections that might not work so well. Okay, and then hopefully that gives you enough to have some Q&A with this panel and also with Swamiji later, right? So who is a good leader? What is a good leader do? First and foremost, they create a better future for people. And that better future may be by changing bad present into something better, like what Gandhi did, Mahatma Gandhi did, like what Martin Luther King did, right? Or just changing the world and making it a better experience for everyone. And the recent example of that, I'm sure all of you would agree, would be what Steve Jobs did at Apple in terms of creating this wonderful device called iPhone and iPad. Now the parents in the room might not agree with that because their kids spend too much time on it, right? But or what Mark Zuckerberg did in terms of connecting people, right? So leaders create a better future. And they do that because they have a vision for what human beings value. They see what human beings value, and then they have a very clear vision and they go make a change. They cause that change to make things better. How do they make that change happen? Is it easy? I mean, you look at all these examples, and I'm sure you all know the story of Gandhi and MLK and even Steve Jobs, who got fired from Apple and got hired back. Right? So his journey, which we might see now as saying, wow, a great visionary and great leader, but he struggled throughout his career, right, to make things happen. So their journey is never easy, but they have the perseverance, they have the commitment to their vision, and they also have the skill to influence masses around them, to inspire those masses, to get them on board, and to actually go through this very arduous and long journey to make better things happen. And that's one of the things that we see in leaders, right? As part of inspiring these